I'm just letting you know right now, there are certain fail safes that, I mean, even if you disarm one of them, maybe two of them, they can't all be disarmed at the same time. I don't know where you get off thinking you can intercept Central Intelligence Agency like messages to one. I mean, these are some of the most dangerous men who've ever walked the face of the planet, and women, ladies. You must have some real religious devotion to be playing messenger of Allah. But see, here's the thing: like, I didn't go to them because, like, I needed personally needed their assistance. I recognized a threat to national security. There was an illegal investigation. I counter-investigated. Homeland Security tried to kill me, so I walked up and down that ass. What happens if Homeland runs out of money? Just more Africans? People are gonna think I'm racist. I'm trying to solve crimes. You're pretending to represent people who put their lives on the line for, various like priorities, but there's no public power of arrest on the land in America that is not derived from the Bill of Rights. There is no treaty made with the United States that is made without the Bill of Rights. I don't know the whole Constitution, I confess. I do know none of it supersedes or overrules the Bill of Rights. I mean, it goes Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, and then the more work to be done, like work on it from there. But this part right here, we just killed 1,000,000 redcoats for this part. Ultimately, the entire world agrees that we're ridiculous about healthcare. It's a mutiny. But communism is just charity at the barrel of a gun. Socialism, these ideologies wouldn't even exist if it weren't for Islam. You just got, all right, so there's Jews and Christians, and we can bicker about that for another 1,000 years. But then there's Greeks. First, do no harm, or you're not a doctor in any religion. We don't owe that much money where the Saudis get to hire a bunch of jingleheads to collect it for us, okay? It's not the British. Sir Isaac Newton said you can't knock down 3 towers that size with 2 planes that size. Everything all right over there, Britain? People think that Europeans came to America and just waylaid the Native Americans and just took everything over. Nah, 90% of them were dead when we got here. Smallpox. Sniffle, you mean? Got the sniffles. In fact, there is no such thing as a gay mafia, because mafia means family, and 2 boys can't make a baby. So having at least that much common decency in the 17th century, they started going by anonymous. So our forefathers really, they were seeking opportunity, whatever, they fled here. They ran away. Just could not compete. It didn't occur to them. Some of the things I know. They impinge on our freedoms. They take them over. They abuse them till we hate them. What if I want to dress funny once in a while? Every other race on the planet is allowed to be proud of themselves. We have faggots cutting flips in the street like we're not allowed. The government definitely needs all the manpower, intelligent, patriotic people. World Health, with their Central African warlord King of Scotland, does not have a monopoly on the word crisis. Somebody trying to reach the Central Intelligence Agency, you act like they're just messed up or whatever. Do you even know why you were involved to begin with? Just make up excuses as you go along, like, oh, there he goes again. So what we've got here is a bunch of people who aren't technically doctors doing harm first and then following up on it, trying to see what's wrong with you. They're trying to see what's wrong with you. Why you like this? Like what? Act like you know every goddamn thing already. Like, I know that the deputy confirmed my presence at a certain Department of Defense, but the proprietors did confirm that I was more willing to yoke one of them up by the throat than I was to pay the rent in alternative currencies. And then they kicked me out. So the fags knew, and I mean, having a bunch of homos and fucking retards point the finger till you get whatever you want is not a religion, but it does tell me that you were mistaken, sensed an opportunity. There's 2 kinds of false flag. There's the kind when a pirate flies the colors of his enemy to bring close. And then there's the kind on the FBI's checklist, also known as a false positive, like when you get on an elevator and press all the buttons and get off. I'm aware of a lot of significant obstacles to the way back, and cherubim with flaming swords is not one of them. It can be done, but in the meantime, if this is part of your regular standard operating procedure, like turning a blind eye while the third world torments people, and it turns out that they're worth more than your whole goddamn operation, and then it makes matters worse that they're on your side. I know Central Intelligence has a diverse talent pool, a lot of people devoted to a lot of things. How many practical comparative theologists are on staff? I'm not looking to sign up because I know the Watchtower has already been ripping the Department of State off, ripping them off based on an inside source. I don't want to validate it and retroactively. And I'm not worthy. I'm just not worthy. I'm the least of my brothers. But that being said, I've never stood within the walls of any mosque that is still standing in the eyes of God. Like, who's married now? All religion is, in fact, a search for universal and eternal truth. And you thought that was science, but in fact, science is very limited. Science creates tools by which conditions can recreate whatever whatever place and time at any other by anybody. So science makes the tools of our trade. The government is an experiment, our experiment. We just happen to employ some of the most worthy of us to tend to its maintenance. Somebody got to keep the money spendy. And as I said, the Bill of Rights is non-negotiable. First, do no harm, or you're not a doctor. So, and I mean, that covers Stoics, philosophers, statesmen, heroes, champions, gentlemen. And then you shall know them by their fruits, which is, I mean, really, does it take the Son of God to tell you that? But at any rate, if the Bill of Rights is not represented here, we are compromised. And if Geneva Convention is not represented on the land, like, I do what I want. Who banned waterboarding? Like, who said we had to do that? Ban waterboarding while they rape 84,000 Boy Scouts? Was it everybody? Was it unanimous? The United Nations? Well, like I said, Geneva Convention is already state of war. Just sneakier. Only sneakier. I'm trying to explain the rules to these people. Like, this building right here is a liability. And what's that mean? Like, it doesn't have to come down right now with unannounced, but as long as it's there, somebody, a grown-up has to have their finger on it. You don't just move a little money around and be like, oops. I have a list of things, and as long as these stipulations are satisfied, Gandhi or no Gandhi will be fine. But I think the Central Intelligence is keenly aware that the Sikh Empire is here to leverage a civil war in India against another one in America. Is it absolutely necessary? I don't know what to do about Gandhi's non-aggression pact. I do know that we can impose customs on countries whose official state religion is Islam, so maybe we can do something similar, but he was not Hindu, so there's that. There's a number of factors here that are within our power to address. If that's allowed, it doesn't matter why they say they're here. If we remove impetus for the people who we want here, it doesn't matter why they're here. I mean, Germany, France, England, what do you want? If it seems like something that's not necessarily in the best interest of the Germans, the French, and the English, ye shall know them by their fruits. Just do whatever they want. And then when something goes down, it'll be like, nah. Same with Israel. I foresee no reason to ever have to blame the Jews, but they can't make you love them back. It's against their religion. So you bring them in close, share the things, see what they're doing. Because while the Greeks were perfecting the arts of medical diplomacy, the Jews were perfecting the art of making Earth round again. Socrates proved that the Senate were the heretics. Moses figured out what to do. They don't take the hint. That's not always necessary for us. All you need is one senator. Let me get my hooks into Rick Scott. I know hair and makeup ain't gonna like it. The communists can't possibly steal enough to prevent the consequences of failure to cut their losses about 9-10 years ago. Like I said, if you're an official, like if you're an agent, special agent, whatever, with any agency of federal law enforcement in the United States, and your subject is trying desperately to communicate with the Department of State for 8 years, you need to make sure you're on the same page. It's not like there's all these rules where you're not allowed to, you gotta stay in your lane or whatever. Like there's just no way. It's just not within. You can bend all these other rules, but no. You can't just put eyes on the intended recipient, see if they're reading the same thing I'm sending. Do you not know what a liaison is? So I've had homos and fucking retards following me around since preschool, raping people, and these goddamn jingleheads acting like we're affiliated, and I'm like, why should I believe that you're not? If it's legal, why point the finger at anybody? If you really thought I did it, why try to justify your mistake? The moment you start making excuses, we know that, like, I'm working on national security. I don't care if I'm allowed. I don't care if you like it. Religion is a search for universal and eternal truth. It's not an excuse. So Gandhi has this non-aggression pact, and we have Swiss neutrality, but at the same time, it's every kind of kosher. I don't know. Gandhi's over there burning little kids' eyes out to make them sing better or whatever. Switzerland might feed you enough rope to hang yourself, and they might grin the whole time, you bastards. But they're not gonna make a career out of justifying an attack on their own flock. Gandhi's over there like nanny nanny boo boo. Islam respects no church and state, but if Hinduism were driving India to instigate World War III over our goddamn cows, they're supposed to have a bunch of kings and priests and stuff. Any religion, any group of people could take it upon themselves to be like, stop. The government is a machine. It is an experiment. It has no feelings, but you have to be able to communicate a threat to it. Like, whatever, it can be my fault. Washington, it's all my fault. You have anybody other than the complacently useless homos and fucking retards responsible for the past 30, 40 years? Can we get a liaison? FBI needs a liaison. I say that for the benefit of the world's dumbest news. I've met a lot of FBI agents, being a bouncer and a freelance gumshoe when necessary. And I've seen even more of them at work. And I'm not just going to go around trying to instigate a problem with the FBI. What I'm looking at on the news is not what I perceive to be the FBI. Act like I got a problem with the real FBI while you make a mockery of it. I didn't recognize him at the time, but the KKK plant from New Jersey was in Oakland, along with 4 guys in casual. Are they afraid that they're going to be penalized for the girl that got raped after she sat next to me on the bus? Or is that just an excuse to keep doing it? These police here don't have jurisdiction over those police there. And if police were not involved, how does sketch get in the paper? And once a sketch is in the paper, how are police not getting involved? So you see, this case merits prevailing authority. That's not necessarily a crime against humanity or a crime against, it's probably tied to crimes against the state, but like preventing me from solving it, like MS-13, the Ku Klux Klan, what are the major foreign militias on the land? MS-13, I carry their cross, no affiliation. KKK, kiss my ass. I don't want to make a career of it. We're not affiliated. I'm just going to prosecute, and then they have no excuse to be here, you idiots. Because once you commit industrial sabotage to prevent me from solving a crime against you, that industrial sabotage is an extension of the original crime. So you neutralize your own moral impetus to be involved to begin with. Like I'll take the Catholics, okay? I'll definitely take the Catholics. The Jews, send more Jews. But who in the world could possibly be dumb enough for me to go through all these qualifications? Like 2014 was staged. Feminazis, they killed my friend's dog. Sent word ahead that I did it. Told me it was a disease. And then when I got back, they discontinued his mom's blood pressure. It took her an excruciating week to die. He didn't do that. He knows I didn't do it. So he's just not allowed to talk to me. We've got people here on the land playing the hand of God for Islam. People that are from here who've probably been incarcerated, brainwashed, whatever, hatched. And regardless how sincere they are about their belief that it's somehow my fault, if they didn't have somebody to blame, they'd be out of a job. Like the Hells Angels, we'll call them. I don't ride with Canadians, so that's not going to work out. Whoever led you to the impression that I was somehow obligated is who you're looking for. Bloods, Crips, Gangsta's disciples. I'm really not racist. They got a Central African warlord and last king of Scotland raping little boys and calling them liars till they shoot up a school. You don't need that kind of heat. MS-13, how long has it been? Like, it's not gonna work, like, because it's not true. But I know about it, so I got you. Why, I got the Catholics, okay. Maybe we'll invent some kind of way where when we solve the case and that girl is made whole, and then there's a precedent where all of them, they're vindicated, and then like magic, all of a sudden you're not gangsters anymore. KKK, kiss my ass. You need my address. Now, if we can all focus on the ostensible excuse for Boko Haram to be over here, big for nothing. Gandhi teaching them to persecute or starve in English for the past 100 years. They finally get here, they don't do nothing. I tell one of them how to spell his name, so that the whole, like, the message that it's supposed to convey, like how to Christianize an Arabic name. I told him that to his face, so that when he meets God, there's no argument for not having the opportunity. And what does he do? He leans on my mom, has her put something in my food. I called the cops. They look at me like I was crazy, but whatever, it's on the record. I called them about that girl too. Again, they just look at me like I'm crazy. The war on terror. When dumbasses ruled the earth. I don't know, I presume that the Sikh Empire is their excuse for coming here and like taking guaranteed positions in healthcare and social work and leaving the media to blame the Mexicans because they don't speak English. I don't know. I haven't tried approaching them and being like, do you all rape little boys? Is that why you carry the sword? Probably. Being crippled, I would love to apply my talents for the Vatican. Like, I would work for the Vatican. But I want a wife and sons. I want to reform the mistakes, the unworthiness, the wickedness that made all this necessary. I want to make it so that whoever is here on the land has something worth fighting for. I'm going to give the Central Intelligence Agency a reason to get an attitude when their autonomy is threatened. And finally, if the Central Intelligence Agency was in fact founded by Operation Paperclip, which is in no way a reference to Windows Helper, and there were people here on the land calling themselves the Central Intelligence Agency, unaware that their predecessors had initiated the self-destruct sequence. If there were any moral impetus, why cause more unnecessary suffering to the Germans, or to the Jews, or to the Russians? Why, what was so wicked about America that the only solution was to convert our population credit to African immigrants? Because, for instance, I am of the opinion that the FBI should just poach Homeland Security. The Muslims think they can rip us off and pay us back in Muslims. Okay, so Homeland owes the FBI money. You want to be a part of the solution? It's not all Homeland's fault. Like it's not Alejandro Mayorkas' fault. He might not be open to the idea or aware that the Centers for Disease Control was a ruse, unnecessary. Do we have to abolish the CDC? We could just reform it under the FDA. But this racket of sabotaging us until achieving whatever justification or demonstrating the might, the mastery, the tyranny to just start a new cabinet is designed to collapse our economy. Roe versus Wade canceled the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm, you're not a doctor anyway. Why we would start a whole new cabinet of not a doctors. War on crime, war on drugs, war on terror. I know how to reconcile these things. I know how to outline and standardize and make sure everybody's on the same page, whether they're allowed to talk to each other or not. And I don't care if Wall Street likes it or not. You can't ban waterboarding. I don't care if it's pure silk. All of this is designed to destroy us and everyone in this general direction. After the Holocaust, the Nazi scientists were ostensibly repatriated, and I remember where they said they sent them to. But as soon as I found out that, people were intentionally misleading me so that they could use my words against us, I threw a wrench in the works. So there's some idiot doctor acting like when I say I do what I want, that means I'm aware of some kind of immunity where I could just go and do terrible things and walk around and act like I could just do it again. And what good does that do you? More Haitians, more Nigerians. The world's dumbest news acts like they have some kind of moral obligation because they lack the sophistication, the savvy, the character study to know that was staged, faked, it was a hoax. How much power does this brand new outfit have? I've never actually raped anybody with my penis. I know there's this whole idea, the excuse. They just wanted an excuse to use their new toy. Well, isn't that ours, Langley? Should we really be letting corporate outsource it to the third world? What's your exit strategy? How much did this cost? What's your anticipated overhead? You can't just pretend to be corporate with me. Pretend to be the government. Pretend to be the corporation. Pretend to be a gang. I go look into it. You fail miserably. You had to be led by the hand. You had to be seduced. You had to be deceived. You had to think that I was just the ripest mark. But somebody lost a bet and they passed the buck to you. And I resent that. I resent it on your behalf. I don't care if you like it. Central Intelligence Agency. How much money have I supposedly cost us? Can we compare notes? I'm not going to go run and blab. I have not had a good time in 8 years. Every day I wake up absolutely fucking pissed. Seething with rage. Golden. and I don't know. I just spit trillions. Like, I know how it works. I know why it hasn't been, it hasn't been picked up on radar. But what they're doing is because they're going to destroy us. So we need to eliminate the impetus for our allies and our principles to allow them to do that, and then we can outlaw what they're doing. If the Central Intelligence Agency does in fact have a mission statement which is incompatible with this plan, we will, like I said, the FBI should do with the Homeland. We will poach the CIA. Okay. Like if you're suicidal and you just want to take this whole puppy down, why don't you just eat your gun right now? Because I got a solution. If what if you, and I know I'm not talking to the CIA, I'm just saying, like, for the sake of just illustration, if the people pretending to be the CIA, what if you had not been forced to adapt to this profoundly sick society? What if you had not had to become the massive, gaping, unwashed, zombie, asshole apocalypse you are today? You could have been a doctor, a lawyer. You could have been a real boy. And if you would not spare just one generation from your cruel, cruel fate, to hell with you anyway, right? But the CIA is made up of men and women that are ready to kill or be killed for not typically a bunch of chicken shit. People like this don't harbor that kind of despondent futility. They don't just sit on their hands while their colleagues buy it, so you get to stay in charge of losing. You can't ban waterboarding, I said. Whatever. I said, it was all my fault. Send me a limo. And the moment I'm in custody, now you get your black sites back. I have a few ideas for like a protocol for POW exchange in the future. My whole thing is that this case is worth more than like the operation deciding whether or not I'm allowed to talk to the CIA. Secret Service is Homeland now. Oh yeah. How many quantitative easements did they get away with before they tried to kill me, before I found out that I got raped in surgery when I was 6 years old? Bunch of jingleheads acting like they know every goddamn thing. Like they learned this from watching me, their bad behavior, and then I go and quietly kick a bunch of ass and act like it didn't happen. If the Saudis want their own law enforcement agency in America, the CIA will hire it for them. Islam respects no church and state, so it should not expect protection of the church from the state. And what that means is, since everything's our fault, all we have to do is rewrite the tax code for charitable non-government organizations, and the whole world is obligated to follow suit because they're just following our bad behavior, right? And now it never happens again. Instead of just blowing it up so the communists can get away with it. Now Elon Musk can explore the stars without having to worry about this plague following humanity forever. Nip it in the bud before you leave. Look at my Facebook page. Traffic and weather. I don't hate you. I want to make it so the Department of Defense is tactically defensibly and ethically defensively transparent, so that as long as you have that press pass and it's recognized, you just waltz in and out and look at the archives. And how do you do that? Well, you try any funny business. Emotional damage. Now there's not all these raging conspiracy theorists and gay bi-curious ads in the back of the magazine. Now you get your exclusive in person. You come with us, skin in the game, and now every major news agency in the country is working for our market again, and they have reason and recourse to follow up on any attempt to sabotage our security, our safety while we're out there, mess with my anchor, because freedom of the press is worth fighting for, and it's not just our job. Look at all the rules being bent, all the liberties being taken, and just imagine if it were all of a sudden a bad idea to abuse that power. China paid you how much to turn a blind eye to a crime against humanity? Well, you can't stop us from investigating. I mean, it's one thing to neglect to, and it would be professional neglect, to report something like that. But under the First Amendment, the FBI's new religion, religion is a search for universal and eternal truth. You threaten to cut our paycheck off for looking. What are you trying to hide? You can't ban waterboarding. I'm not obligated to share your delusions, your brainwashing. The government is a matter of life and death. These people take it seriously, depriving them of the ability to do their job safely, and then point the finger at me. You got the right one. What I'm trying to say is, if you can impersonate the CIA and intercept intelligence sent to them, even using human shields here in America on the land, because you want to take over Washington one day, what measures, what steps have you taken to prevent the Nigerians from doing the same exact thing? And this is why the KKK can always kiss my ass, because if it wasn't for your bad behavior, they'd have no excuse to be involved to begin with. I'm going to eliminate the reason that you're either gay or racist in this country. We want, while we reform the tax code to make it friendlier to people like Soros, Rockefeller, who's the other one? Carnegie? I forget. Whatever. Anyway, so we reform the tax code and enforcement standards to guarantee trade rights. Okay, we deprive these people of the excuse, make it possible for them to represent the custodians of our wealth. So I figure that's gonna happen. Okay, because you can't uninvent the wheel. It's not the guns. I don't want any kind of animosity. So what you should do to prepare for that coming day, I don't know how to move the gay revolution to India. How are we going to? The non-aggression pact. We can impose customs on international trade between Islamic countries, because Islam is not a religion. We can't make the same argument with Hinduism, but it's that non-aggression pact and our reaction to it that created the urgency with which our allies abandon us. What if we just made it a Krishna non-aggression pact? Would that be good for China? Because that's what Gandhi was, right? It's a Hare Krishna. Now, when the Muslims pretend to be Hindu to sabotage global food and shipping and stuff, now there's no real argument. There's no automatic international extraterritorial sanction against the Hindus doing something about it. You can argue that it's their religion, like they have to persecute, but that's their religion, not yours. All the sacrifices that have been foisted upon Europe and the Americas, the world, for the sake of depriving the democracies of the ability to correct the situation without a word to their faces or spoken on the matter of why Islam just doesn't, it shouldn't have this kind of power. It is the year of our Lord 2024, because if you don't like it, when you leave it. And now if you're a dyed-in-the-wool Muslim, you're going to say, well, what about the Jews? Like, as if you have to go impose it on them. Not for the Christians. The Jews can come over here and know that, for them it's a different year or whatever. They're not going to make us change ours. They're going to be perfectly happy to conduct their business in the year 2024. It's worth a lot of money, because church and state are separate. In a religion, central intelligence. The bottom line is, like, it seems like I go off the rails, but this is all relevant, and as long as we're not just conducting a meaningful exchange on the record or some give and take. I have to do it all on my own, unscripted. There is no treaty with the United States that is not like that is enforceable without the Bill of Rights. And then there's your general orders. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to just blow it up. You can't think of a solution. Are you aware of all these ostensible arguments? It doesn't matter what they thought I was. There is no philosopher who is afraid to meet his gods. And if you're not a philosopher, you're not the boss. I was crippled repeatedly as a child, as a young child. I was lied to about it. I didn't know why I was sick. I did my best. You don't just turn bad overnight. I wasn't already bad. Certain parties were just waiting for the excuse to say I veered from the straight and narrow. But I was never like a big party animal. I partied a little bit, but you know, you have your social your hierarchy of needs, society, but then there's medicine. You need treatment. When doctors been lying to you your whole life, and you don't even know yet, cripple you in surgery and deny you appropriate health care. It's only a matter of time before you seek relief through alternative avenues. Okay, so the moral obligation is accounted for. God's not chasing me around for smoking pot. The rest of it, I mean, I'm morally obligated to follow up on the multiple homicides that led to that scenario. I don't see why you wouldn't be. Like, how much is it worth, and why wouldn't it be mine? Like, the idea that you need me to run for president, why? So you keep fucking it up? Why would anybody want to be president of a country where you couldn't just sue this right, deny me the, like, rape me in surgery, and then try to kill me before I find out? And before I even find out it, my first instinct is go hire a lawyer, subpoena the hospital, ripping off the insurance company, which would have set the precedent that would have fixed all of this. Why would anybody like forgive that? If they had just let me subpoena the hospital, I'd have had no reason to keep digging. So right then and there, they're already too dumb for this job. Apologies to all the ethical, moral authorities of the world that were banking on destroying America for our wickedness. You failed. Like, what now? Are you gonna get with the program? You can get back in your boat. Saudi Arabia was founded 6 years after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Like, World War I didn't even happen. Why? Were we wrong? Was World War I wrong? Just convenient. There's money here. You're like locusts. Now, the difference between Saudi Arabia and Israel, if the argument that Israel's in the Bible and they're going to try their best isn't enough for you, if for some reason, whatever reason, it was decided that Israel had no right to exist, Israel would be welcome to move here. Talk about free Palestine. We got Palestinian legislators. Like, how free does it? Like, we didn't even free the women yet, apparently. If you're either a slave of the prophet or the infidel, how do you free Palestine? Christian Palestine, right? And then you're morally obligated to support them. Arabic Christians are morally obligated to minister to displaced Palestinians. Other Christians are obligated to support them in that endeavor. Why would Israel have a problem with a bunch of Christian money coming? See, democracy is worthy. It's worth fighting for, but the republic is made of serious men. Like, I'm so sorry. I said if the first Continental Congress laid eyes on this one, they would just take it. But I'm a man of solutions.